Since this bank is the owner of the mine, and it's located in the city, the Slag Ravine has no autonomy. If this were Gilmore Valley, Mr. Gilmore would be very controlling. That also sounds problematic. But the bank has already given autonomy to the people of the Slag Ravine, allowing them to do whatever they want as long as they generate money. So it's up to the boss and miners to decide which direction they want to dig, and also when to call it a day or try harder and work overtime. In other words, it depends on the boss's mood. He has to decide when to work and when to rest. Only this kind of autonomy remains. People in the Slag Ravine tend to treat outsiders coldly, and they're very confident in themselves, and aren't afraid of authority. I think such a masculine culture comes from the time when even though the Slag Ravine gradually fell into poverty, the miners kept their autonomy while negotiating with the banks, and kept mining. Well, the bank would likely say they'd abandon or close the mountain if the mine can't make a profit. That's why wealthy people don't live in the Slag Ravine, the first Laputa relic. It's no longer a profitable place. This background wasn't drawn in the movie version of Laputa. But if you look closely, there are men squatting in the corner, or miners confidently confronting air pirates. They're remnants of this Laputa relic, which I've discussed in Buratamori style. There's another secret regarding the Slag Ravine that I'd like to talk about in today's premium broadcast, or perhaps after my lecture. Alright, moving on to the next topic. I'll see you later. Light railway. And the terrain model. Wow, it's already been an hour. I'm far from done, sorry. Now, on to the second Laputa relic. I would like to truly depict the aerial empire Laputa from 2,500 years ago. It was 700 years ago, in the movie Colonel Musca told Sita that Laputa was abandoned 700 years ago. So Sita's and Musca's ancestors abandoned Laputa and began dwelling on the ground. Since then, an uninhabited Laputa has been wandering in the clouds unnoticed. So what kind of city is Laputa? I'm going to explain it again in Buratamori style. I repeated myself. Hey, okay, let's leave this here for a moment. This is a model of Laputa, the aerial kingdom, that was destroyed 700 years ago. The size of this Laputa has not really been addressed anywhere. There are plenty of verification websites, because Ghibli-related work receives high traffic, but very few people describe the size of Laputa. But, thankfully, there's an easy-to-understand scene in the movie. This is that scene. It's a bit dark and hard to see, but this is the air destroyer Goliath. It's the latest airship owned by the military, and this is the scene where Goliath was docked next to Laputa. It's said to be 312 meters long, so if you look here, Laputa's diameter seems like it's approximately 500 meters. But if that's the size of Laputa, there seems to be an inconsistency, right? The inconsistency occurs when Shita and Pazu land on Laputa, say, "Oh, there's a pond." Look inside and go, "Whoa!" They're surprised that it actually isn't a pond. This is what it looks like from above. Shita and Pazu look very small from up here. When they look down from the narrow gap of what looks like a pond, there's an ancient stone city submerged in the water. You see some mysterious deep-sea fish swimming through it. It's a magnificent panoramic landscape. This large group of buildings is submerged in the water, but the depth seems to exceed 100 meters. Those buildings endlessly go down to the bottom. That means if the diameter of Laputa is 500 meters, then this pond-like place can't possibly fit in Laputa. There's no way an underwater city more than 100 meters deep would fit. That's just impossible. Then why is such a scene... oops, wrong picture. Why is Goliath featured in this scene? It's simple. Goliath is intentionally drawn large here. It wouldn't be scary if Goliath was depicted small. Goliath has been docked next to Laputa in order to highlight a sense of urgency and despair because the military has arrived. The size of Goliath is exaggerated in this scene. Actually, this model of Laputa is a paper toy. It's made from layered paper that is then precision laser cut. I happened to talk to the person in charge of producing this paper toy at a company called Sankei Art. It was a lucky coincidence. In Nihonbashi, Osaka, there is a huge otaku town, which I believe is the second biggest after Akihabara. In the center of that city, there's a building called Joshin Super Kids Land. It's about 6 stories high, and every floor is filled with toys and models. It's like the wonderland of your dreams. There are various toy stores all over Japan, but I think the most exciting store in Japan is probably Joshin Super Kids Land. So when I went there, I saw a lot of accurately detailed models produced by Sankei Art there. I was amazed and then was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Then I noticed that differently assembled times were written on those models. This Laputa model said 7 hours. That light railway over here was about 7 to 8 hours. Larger models take more time. For example, Kiki's and Gigi's house from Kiki's delivery service takes 13 to 17 hours. The bathhouse model from Spirited Away takes 170 hours. I felt dizzy. I mean 170 hours, but the thing is, Spirited Away models include not only the bathhouse, but also the clock tower, and pretty much the whole town can be turned into a paper toy. Most of them take 23 to 40 hours, and I was shocked. Then a man said he was in charge of these products, so I asked him whether it takes so long because the toys are made by amateurs, not professionals. Then he answered, no, professionals will require 170 hours. I was completely mind blown. Why does it take so much time and effort? Well, Sankei Art wasn't originally a toy maker. It was a company for architectural models. Later, the company became interested in Ghibli's architecture and made a proposal to Ghibli for permission to reproduce precise replicas of architecture from the movies. But Ghibli's response was, Hayao Miyazaki makes up the measurements, so you'll have a hard time. Then Sankei Art said, that's only normal when you create a set for films, and we can talk it over. Just like that, Sankei Art received the details from Ghibli, and they submitted questions regarding any inconsistencies. That's how these models are made. So these models are pretty accurate. There are some inconsistencies, but the company made it as realistic as possible. What I'm trying to say is that this reduced to scale model is quite accurate. For example, if you look at this Laputa from above, you can see that the glass dome located in the middle of Laputa isn't completely centered. It's quite off-center. This kind of thing can't be known unless you create a model. Do you see a small green circle here? This small round part is the basis for calculating the size of Laputa, and it's the basis for everything in creating this model. But what is this round part? It's the terrace where Pazu and Shida land with a kite.